the rest of this is going to be about me. This is the third birthday for Couch Potato Diary, and so I thought a good time to just kind of reflect. And I think one of the things that I've been all right at is I'm very honest and upfront with the people who are listening to me, whether it was in my radio days or whether it's now. And I was saying this to my wife a couple of weeks ago. I would always get stressed out around work anniversaries because I would always be worried about the spotlight that would put on me. Because, like, oh man, this is his 8th anniversary here. Shouldn't he be better by now? Like, shouldn't he know how to do this? Shouldn't he be better at this? And so I would always worry around those. Like, you get a couple congratulatory emails and whatever. Sometimes a shopping channel gift card, depending on what radio station you're working at. But I would always get worried around those because it's like that this is going to put a spotlight on maybe how not as that maybe I'm not as far along and great as people think I am. And so now with this, it's okay, it's been 3 years. Are people going to be like, okay, well, why isn't it better then? And one of those people is me. But I will say, I am really proud and happy of where this show is at right now. I started this after I got laid off from Sportsnet 960, and that was like the Couch Potato Diary was actually initially a thought that I had for a segment idea to kind of like what I do with diary entries here. Now I haven't done one in a little bit, but what I do with diary entries here, where like I take notes on every game, and so just go through those notes, and there's going to be some gibberish in there, but go through the finer points, like this is what I saw in these games, and just kind of break it down. It's the diary of a couch potato, right? That's where it all kind of stems from. And then as you kind of see the radio world turning and stuff like that, I was like, I would rather not. I'm not going to say like this was a overly valuable thing or whatever, but I would rather not lose the intellectual property of this by creating it as a segment on one thing and then they own that. So I just kind of kept it to myself. And then once what I believed was the inevitable happened and I was let go from 960, I was like, okay, well, this is the brand here that I want to create. And kind of just jumped in to all of this, not knowing at all what I was doing. And initially, a lot of people followed along, and it was good. It didn't grow the way that I wanted it to, a large part because I wasn't running it, not the way that I should have. Looking back on it now, it's obviously the way I should have, but I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, right? And so I wasn't able to capitalize on a few things, which is what it is. But I do think this show took a bit of a hit when I took on a full-time role at Daily Hive. Which like it should, right? Like that was my full-time job, and this was the fun little side hustle thing. But I found that I was doing shows just to do them. And like just to check off a box. And part of that was like I had sponsors at that time, right? And so I was kind of doing it just to check a box. And that's never, ever, 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 ever what I wanted any of my stuff to be. But I do feel like I then kind of fell into that pattern where I was just like, let's just get this done just to get it done and try to get some other stuff to work, right? And I think these shows for a while just quite frankly weren't very good. And I think the listener numbers reflected that. I think whenever I would put stuff up on YouTube, it would reflect that. And one of the things that is a strength of mine, but is also a weakness of mine, is when things are, I'm not going to say when things are going bad, but when things aren't going the way I want them to, I default to, I can just do more, right? Like that was, when I was working at 660 and 960, it's like, okay, I'm not moving up the way that I want to, so I'm going to do more. I'm going to try to get onto a fantasy football show. I'm going to do a UFC show that is going to turn into a fight show. I'm going to do a baseball show. Going to do just a regular weekend thing. I'm going to do all these things while I'm also working at 960 and working on both of them at the same time. And not to pat myself on the back or anything, but I would have some people be like, you work really, really hard. I'm so impressed by that. Like, I don't think I work hard. I just think I do it a lot. And some people equate the two. I don't necessarily. It's just an inefficiency of mine, I suppose. But I've always been good I think, at when more needs to be done, I can do more. And so it was okay, well, the numbers are down. So how do I get numbers back up? Well, I've settled in at this number. If I want to get weekly up to this, guess I have to do more shows. And so finding ways of doing more shows and doing all of those things. And was talking with my wife about it one day, who's been amazing during this whole process. And she said, like, okay, like you're worried about like these YouTube numbers and they're not going up, but like think of all the times we talk about your show and how many times you go, I didn't love it today, like it was all right, but it was just kind of surface level. But it was a show. And like for these people who are seeing this for the first time, how many of them are going to want to stick around? Right? Like you're trying to get all of these eyeballs, but you're kind of just trying to get them once and you're not thinking about getting them on down the line. And so that was it seems so obvious, but that was a bit of the light bulb moment for me here, where it's like, okay, I need to stop worrying about the quantity and start worrying about the quality. And that has, I think, really improved things here. Like I am so proud of what we have. Or I keep saying we, it's me. I'm so proud of what I have done here for the last little while here. We've made some changes on the YouTube channel that like we're not like Mr. Beast is not shaking in his boots, but I'm certainly like things are improving. And it's not improving the way that I want it to, but it's nice to see that I learn something, I implement that change, and more people watch and more people listen. And so that's been really, really good. So now I think as we enter this third year, the focus is going to absolutely continue to be more on quality. I loved what I was able to do with the UFC shows, and I loved what I was able to do with the stuff leading up to and immediately following WrestleMania. And so that is the type of a bit more in-depth stuff that I want to get back to. And I'm not going like there's still going to be a bunch of them. Like I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to cut back on the quantity. This will be the 31st podcast of the month that I have done here on Couch Potato Diary, and it's the 23rd. So figure that math out for a show that initially started as 3 days a week, a little bit more than that now. And so that is kind of the promise to you, that who, like I said at the beginning, if you've been with me for 3 years or now 34 minutes, I do promise that these shows, like the Smart Sports Talk for smart sports fans, that was initially the tagline of the show, this is going to get back to that. It's not just going to be, you know what, these guys wanted it more. So there's that there's going to be real insightful stuff on all of the sports that you love. And I feel like right now, that the show wise, we are in a pretty good place. As far as I'm concerned, it's not as good. Like I've been working really hard on these to try to get things going, and I have been very almost petrified that like started to build a little momentum. And again, like you can see the YouTube numbers. We're not going insane here by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not even catching up to the last place that laid me off. But I do see the numbers going up, and I am worried that if I take even a day, that's going to fall off. And so I have been trying to get out as much of this as I can. And like I have been sick for about a month, and not like I don't believe I'm actively dying or anything like that, but it's just like I have a cold for longer than I should and a cough for longer than I should. And so I need to figure out that balance a little bit better going forward. Absolutely I do. And that has always been a challenge for me. I have always, I don't want to say put work first, but I have always put like myself last, I guess, with the like, okay, I'm going to get all of this stuff done. And then if there's time, I'll go to the gym and I'll hit the punching bag for a little bit. And that will also act as therapy. And so I'll be able to check 2 boxes, and that'll be great. And so that's something I do need to work on a little bit going forward. And again, this is all just talking about me. So thank you for putting up with it. But I do need to figure out the self-confidence thing a little bit. And if you listen to me on 960, you knew that I put myself down quite a bit. I do think I've kind of stopped that. Now I'm not having conversations with anyone. It's just me talking on here. But that stuff has still been a bit of a challenge. And I look, I will admit, my last couple work experiences have really hit me in those ways. And like overall, I do think the mental health part of things has improved dramatically over the last couple of years. Like I lucked out with getting a couple really good therapists. I've had three in my time, and all of them have been exactly what I needed at that particular time. My first one, Sebastian, just to like, hey, you're different. So let's figure out what's going on here and just like address things kind of as they're coming in. And with Becca, it was a much broader scale of things and how to address everything. And with Jennifer, it was just kind of organizing all the different thoughts that I have. And everything worked exactly how it was supposed to. And so like mentally, it is night and day. I feel like a completely different person from a person who I was 4 or 5 years ago in the best way possible. But there are still some things that I need to deal with. And the fucking annoying thing about them is that they're all like the getting panic attacks and stuff like that. That's obvious. I start shaking. So, that seems like a pretty big red flag waving in the background. Like, hey, something's up here. Something's not right here. But it's the subtle things and the confidence things. And yeah, my last couple of ones have been just absolute gut punches where you kind of get a read on a situation and say, you know what, I think it's time for me to go. And then to not 100% have the thought that you have about a place confirmed, but to steal the line from Billions, I am not unsure that I was right about certain situations. And then the SDPN one just hurt, right? Like that, I never like being caught off guard by things. And so I would always prepare for the worst. And like Steinberg would joke with me at 960, anytime we'd get any meeting request at all, like, a little worried about that one. He's like, they're probably not going to fire 5 of us, and we're doing it all at the same time. Like, we're all invited to this meeting. Probably not all getting fired at the same time, man. And he's probably not just going to fire you and have the other 4 of us watch. So we're probably okay. It's probably just going to be some weird thing that we're going to have to do. And he was right until that there was one where it was a one-on-one, and then you get a text saying like, hey, you're going to be there, right? And then But the SDPN one just caught me so off guard, and I let myself believe in what we were working towards and believed that it was a all-in thing. And then when you look back and you see how not all in it all was, it hits you, right? And so with the 960 stuff, and then with this having that dip there entirely because I wasn't paying enough attention to it, but still having that dip, still seeing that dip, and then the other work experience and now the SDPN thing, and you start to think like, okay, eventually I have to think it's me, right? And so and that is again where I doubled down on, well, I'll just do more. And that's why the team specific shows came out. It's like, well, I'm just going to do more. And because heaven forbid, I work on the quality of things, because that would mean acknowledging a problem, and that would mean having to work on things. And that's not necessarily my area of strength, for a number of different reasons. But yeah, that one got me really tough. And so that has been a bit of a challenge to build that back up. But I do think I am getting there. And like I said, I am so proud of the shows that I have done over the last little while. Not perfect, absolutely not perfect. And I understand, like, the world didn't need more bearded white dudes talking about sports. But I do think these shows are worth listening to. And I do think these shows can add something to the sports discourse. And I am really excited to see, I don't want to say how far I've come, because it's still not where it was at the beginning, but how close I am to getting back to where things were, and how good the quality of shows actually have been. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I kind of needed to get some of that off of the chest a little bit. But look, the show isn't going anywhere. There's probably a good chance that after the playoffs and stuff, when it dips back to 3 days a week, it may not bounce back right to five. Because, like I said, your boy's wearing out a little bit. But this show is always going to be around in some way, shape, and form. And I just hope you guys are around to be a part of the ride.